Hello everyone, it is March 25th, 2020, coming to you with vlog number 5 maybe or something. Today's topic is the 4 pillars of awesomeness and their origin. So we will do a quick review of what are the 4 pillars, and then we'll dive into where they came from, and then later this week we'll be going into each of them individually to discuss what they mean. I realize now, look how rosy my cheeks are. I think I'm excited about Nico's COVID dashboards that I was just looking at because they look awesome, and I'm excited to share them with people. But side tangent. Okay, back to business. So the 4 pillars of awesomeness, just to refresh everybody's recollection, the first one is to always assume good intentions. The second is to assume the person you're speaking with is skilled at what they do. The third is to propose solutions. And the fourth is extreme ownership. And as I mentioned, we'll go through each of those individually, but I wanted to talk a little bit today about where these came from, why do we reference the 4 pillars of awesomeness, and then how do they kind of compare to our values. So our values kind of give what the company values in each employee, how people are reviewed. The pillars are more of ways to operate, to move through the world, deal with conflicts that come up, and just more of a tool set than the overarching values that we rely on. And where did they come from? Very specifically, there was a conversation that I had with William that was the precursor to the birth of the 4 pillars of awesomeness. So I'll walk you through a little bit of that conversation, and where it stemmed from was a situation where we were in one of the conference rooms, and one of the devices had a label on it that said the room's nickname instead of its proper name. And that had caused some confusion, and we had a really good, insightful discussion about it. And because I appreciate how William, views the world and kind of walks through things, I asked him, can I pick your brain about this? And he said, sure. So we broke it down into very small pieces of what happened. And what came out of it was basically like a baby flow chart. I'm referencing it here. I'll try to put it up on the vlog. But what happens is pretty much all humans, or all instances where there's conflict, start with a moment of confusion or disorientation, where you're like, why is that? Why is that the case? It wasn't what I expected. And then from that moment of confusion, there's basically 4 paths that your brain can take. 2 of them err on the side more of assuming good intentions, and 2 of them less so. So let's take a look. After your brain encounters something that it's confused by or disoriented by, the first thing you can do is kind of think, I don't know why that is, but I'm sure they had a good reason, and you move on with your life, right? That's the most efficient way to resolve a situation of confusion or disorientation. But there's a lot of reasons in practicality that can't happen. So the second most efficient way of kind of addressing that confusion is going directly to the person that caused it. So I go to Cameron and I say, Cameron, why did you tell the clients XYZ, right? And then he answers, and then we either have a discussion about it, we agree or disagree, and then it's seen to conclusion. That is the most direct second way, because I'm talking to the person that caused the confusion, and we're able, based on mutual trust and respect, and pillar number 2, that I respect that he's skilled at his job, to work through that issue. Now, as we get into the third option, when you're confused, it gets a little less healthy, and that's indirect communication. So if I go to Andrew and I ask Andrew, Cameron, why did Cameron tell the client XYZ? And Andrew's like, well, I don't know. He's telling other clients that too, or whatever. It just devolves, right? Because then someone else's speculation's involved, maybe personal issues that person has is involved. And anyways, it's doing a very roundabout way of telephone that usually does not end well, causes gossip and speculation, and is not helpful. Now that's different than going to someone and asking for, hey, I'm not sure how to approach Cameron about this. Do you have any help? Do you want to give me perspective on this and help me take the path of direct communication? That's completely healthy. And then the tool that we have at Medtelligent that's been healthy as well is mediation, right? Andrew, I am not sure how to broach this with Cameron. Will you help me? Will you be there to mediate? So for that indirect communication route, we have a lot of tools that we can use at our disposal, but absent a positive outcome in mind, that can definitely devolve into something unhealthy. like the fourth one. If someone encounters confusion or disorientation and speculates on what's happening, that is the worst of all scenarios. And that gets to where John, his kind of catchphrase lately is the story in your head, right? So if I'm like, I bet Cameron's telling that client because, some reason, or I think that Trisha did this because she just doesn't like XYZ or whatever, instead of hearing it from me, that speculation or jumping to conclusions can always devolves to be very unhealthy because it doesn't address directly the person that's causing that confusion. And it doesn't move any progress forward. It just kind of stays in your mind and can fester. And then if you pass that to someone else, can be the worst form of gossip because that person didn't have that impression to start with. And now they have that impression and they can't unsee it. So again, the worst of all worlds to deal with some kind of confusion or disorientation that you encounter. So long story short, those are kind of, after reviewing all those methods, I slept on it for a while, maybe, I don't know, a couple weeks or a month. And then I realized that these pillars could actually help people navigate these situations that were complicated. Because if you start at the confusion stage, you start applying these tools. Number one, always assume good intentions. It literally has the effect of snapping you out of it a little bit to be like, okay, stops that story in your head and then says, okay, let me pick one of these other three routes that will help effectively, efficiently, and in a healthy manner resolve the issue. This kind of helps you down that road. And if you can't make it past that one, you can go to the second one, and they kind of help you as a layered toolbox. But we'll go through those all specifically later in future blogs. That is our blog today, Introduction to the 4 Pillars of Health and Awesomeness. So I hope that laid some groundwork for you all, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Okay, bye.